The observer's secret unearths the forgotten law that what you observe transforms beneath your gaze. Reality isn't solid, it's alive, and it's listening. The ancient teachings within this audiobook will show you how to watch wisely and watch your world change. The Observer's Secret. Introduction. Before the clocks of men began ticking and before names had tongues to shape them, there were watchers, not of time nor of stars, but of the silent pulse behind all things. They were the guardians of a secret not written, but woven, etched into the hush between thunder and echo, glimpsed only when the eyes forget to grasp. They called it the observer's secret, not a weapon nor a doctrine, but a way of seeing, so profound it could unravel the seams of what the world claims is real. These watchers did not lead empires or command crowds. Their mastery lay in stillness, in perceiving the flicker between one moment and the next where reality becomes soft clay. For ages, their knowledge was sealed, not out of fear, but reverence. For truth, once truly seen, cannot be unseen. Now, the seal has broken. The scroll unrolls not before your eyes, but within them. What you are about to read is not instruction. It is initiation. You are stepping into a realm where attention is alchemy, where the unseen responds to the quiet gaze of the inner eye. Here, you will not chase life. You will remember how you shaped it all along. You will learn to dissolve illusion not by force, but by looking gently until the false crumbles. Each chapter is a key, each parable a doorway. What lies beyond them is not control, but awareness, and with it, the realization that you were never merely observing reality, you were always creating it. The moment is still, the threshold stands open. Breathe, begin. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Act 1, The Awakening Rules. Chapter 1, When Reality Glitches. In the bustling markets of ancient Parthia there lived a merchant named Christopher Sullivan, whose wealth was legendary. His counting house overflowed with golden coins from distant lands, each piece carefully catalogued in his meticulous ledgers. Christopher had a peculiar habit. He would spend hours simply gazing at his gold, watching it glitter in the lamplight. But one evening, as he sat among his treasures, something extraordinary occurred. When he fixed his attention directly upon a specific coin, it seemed to fade like morning mist, becoming translucent before his eyes. Yet the moment he shifted his gaze elsewhere, the coin would solidify once again. Disturbed by this phenomenon, Christopher began experimenting. He discovered that any portion of his wealth he observed intensely would start to dissolve, while riches in his peripheral vision remained stable and often multiplied. The more he tried to grasp and control his gold through direct observation, the more it eluded him. Seeking answers, he visited a blind sage who lived in the city's ancient temple. The sage listened to his tale and laughed softly. "Ah, you've stumbled upon the observer's paradox," she said. "Reality is like a shy dancer. Try to pin it down with your gaze and it slips away. But watch it from the corner of your eye, with gentle attention, and it will reveal its most magnificent performances." You see, dear reader, the universe operates through a peculiar mechanism. That which you observe too intently becomes unstable, while that which you hold loosely tends to flourish. This is the first secret of reality's game board. Direct observation changes the very nature of what is observed. Think of your desires like butterflies, chase them directly, and they evade you. Sit quietly in the garden, attention soft and welcoming, and they will land upon your shoulder. This is not mere philosophy. It is a practical principle for manifesting your intentions. Christopher eventually learned to cultivate a state of gentle awareness, neither grasping nor rejecting. His wealth grew beyond measure, though he never again spent hours staring at his coins. He had discovered that true abundance, like all aspects of reality, flourishes best in the quiet spaces between intense observation. Practice. Choose something you deeply desire. For the next 7 days, practice soft attention toward this goal. Instead of fixating on it directly, hold it gently in your peripheral awareness. Notice how reality responds differently when you cease trying to force it into conformity through rigid observation. The game board of existence is more flexible than you imagine, but only when you learn to play with a light touch. Remember, the most powerful moves in this cosmic game often happen just outside the spotlight of your attention. Chapter 2. Losing to Win. In the shadow of Mount Fuji, where mist-wrapped valleys held secrets older than time, there lived a master potter named Jessica Martinez. Her works were coveted by emperors and sought by merchants who traveled the ancient Silk Roads. But her greatest treasure was a single vase crafted during a night of profound inspiration when the moon cast silver shadows through her workshop windows. The vase seemed to capture light itself, its glaze shifting like living water. For 7 years, Jessica guarded this masterpiece, refusing all offers to sell it. But one morning, as she prepared her kiln, a strange calm settled over her. With deliberate slowness, she lifted the precious vase and, to the horror of her apprentices, let it slip from her fingers. The crash echoed through the valley like thunder. But instead of anguish, Jessica felt an unexpected lightness. She gathered the shards and, working through the night, incorporated them into a new creation, a mosaic bowl that seemed to pulse with its own inner fire. This piece would later be known as the Vessel of Sacred Wounds, celebrated as her greatest work. Word of Jessica's apparent madness spread, bringing a Zen master to her door. He observed her working and smiled. "You have discovered the paradox of strategic loss," he said. "The game of existence has a hidden rule. Sometimes we must deliberately break what we cling to in order to receive something greater. You see, dear reader, there are moments when holding on becomes a form of blindness. The universe operates on a principle of creative destruction, like a forest fire that clears the way for new growth. When you learn to recognize these moments and willingly participate in the breaking, you transform loss into a powerful tool of manifestation. This is not about reckless destruction, but rather about recognizing when something must be sacrificed to make space for greater possibilities, just as Jessica's beloved vase had to shatter for her masterpiece to emerge. Sometimes your most treasured limitations must break for your true potential to manifest. Practice. Identify something you've been clinging to, a belief, a goal, or a way of being that once served you well. Create a simple ceremony of intentional release. This might be writing down the old pattern and burning the paper, or symbolically breaking an object that represents the past. As you do this, hold the awareness that this strategic loss creates space for something greater to emerge. Remember, in the cosmic game, the most powerful moves often begin with a willing surrender. What appears as loss in the immediate moment may be the very key that unlocks your next level of mastery. In Chapter 3, The Power Button. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Korea, there lived a legendary swordsman named Michael Rodriguez. His blade moved faster than thought, and his reputation spread across 3 kingdoms. Yet despite his mastery, he carried a peculiar habit that puzzled all who witnessed it. In the midst of combat, he would sometimes freeze completely still, as motionless as a mountain lake. One day, while defending a mountain temple from bandits, Michael found himself surrounded by a dozen armed men. As their weapons descended, time seemed to stretch like honey. Instead of reacting, he did something that appeared madly dangerous. He completely stopped. Not just his body, but his very thoughts ceased their motion. In that eternal pause between moments, Michael witnessed something extraordinary. He could see the subtle shifts in the air that preceded each attack, the microscopic tensions that revealed his opponent's intentions. When he finally moved, it was with such precision that he disarmed all 12 men without drawing a drop of blood. A watching monk named Jeffrey White approached him afterward. "You've discovered the sacred pause," he said, eyes twinkling. "Most warriors seek to master motion, but you've found the secret power hidden between thoughts. You see, dear reader, there exists in every moment a microscopic space between your thoughts, a cosmic pause button that stops time's forward rush. In this space lies more power than in all action combined. It is the still point around which the entire universe turns. And think of your mind like a sword in motion. It can only cut in the direction it's swinging, but in complete stillness, all possibilities remain open. This is why the pause contains more power than any action. It is the space where reality's game board becomes reprogrammable." Michael went on to found a new school of swordsmanship based not on technique, but on mastering the space between movements. His students were known not for their aggression, but for their uncanny ability to be exactly where they needed to be, exactly when they needed to be there. Practice 3 times today when facing any situation that would normally trigger an immediate response. Activate your pause button. Stop completely, not just physically, but mentally. Let your thoughts settle like snow in a glass globe. Notice how reality shifts when viewed from this still point. Count to 3 before allowing movement to resume. Remember, in the cosmic game, the most powerful player is not the one with the fastest moves, but the one who knows when to press pause. For in that sacred stillness, all possibilities await your choosing. Chapter 4, Player versus Character. In the gilded temples of ancient Cambodia, there lived a celebrated sacred dancer named Amanda Chen. Her performances of the divine stories were so compelling that witnesses often wept, believing they saw the gods themselves moving through her form. Amanda's dedication to her art was absolute. She spent years perfecting each gesture, training her body to embody celestial beings with perfect precision. One sweltering afternoon, as Amanda rehearsed the Dance of Thousand Spirits, she caught a glimpse of herself in the temple's sacred pool. In that reflection, she saw something that stopped her mid-motion, countless faces flickering across her own, each one a character she had portrayed. With growing unease, she realized she could no longer distinguish her true face from the masks she wore. Disturbed, Amanda sought counsel from an eccentric temple sweeper named Timothy Hayes, known for his peculiar habit of speaking profound truths while seemingly talking to his broom. As she described her crisis, Timothy swept in ever wider circles around her. "Ah," he said, pausing his endless motion, "you've confused the player with the game pieces. Tell me, when you play chess, Do you become the queen just because you move her across the board? He pointed to the dust he'd gathered. These particles dance in patterns at my broom's command, but the patterns are not the particles, and neither are the real dancer. He grinned. Just as you are not your roles, but the consciousness that plays them. You see, dear reader, in this cosmic game, your personality, with all its traits, talents, and tendencies, is merely your character sheet. The real you is the player holding that sheet, free to modify or even discard it entirely. Most humans live their entire lives believing they are their character, never realizing they are actually the player. Amanda began approaching her dances differently. Rather than losing herself in each role, she remained anchored in the awareness that watched herself perform. Paradoxically, her performances became even more magnificent, for she could now consciously direct her character rather than being unconsciously consumed by it. Practice for the next 3 days. Create distance between your player self and your character self. When emotions arise, observe them as plot points in your character's story, rather than your entire reality. When thoughts appear, watch them as dialogue options, rather than absolute truths. Notice how this perspective shift changes your experience of the game. Remember, in this grand performance, you are not the dancer. You are the one who chose to dance. Your roles are sacred, but they are not you. True mastery comes from playing your character consciously while remaining anchored in the eternal player behind the temporary part. Chapter 5, Editing Reality. In the candlelit halls of Alexandria's great library, where ancient scrolls held the memory of civilizations, there worked a royal scribe named Matthew Anderson. Unlike his fellow scribes who simply copied texts, Matthew had developed an unusual habit. He would sometimes stop mid-sentence and stare at empty spaces between the words, as if seeing invisible stories written in the air. One night, while transcribing an account of a devastating battle, Matthew's quill froze above the parchment. Instead of copying the tale of brutal defeat, he found himself writing a different version, one where the commander had chosen peace talks instead of conflict. As he wrote this alternate history, something extraordinary happened. An elderly messenger burst into the library with shocking news. Ancient documents had been discovered proving the battle had never happened. Instead, that very commander had achieved a legendary peace accord. Startled by the synchronicity, Matthew began experimenting. He discovered that when he rewrote historical accounts, while maintaining that peculiar awareness of the spaces between words, similar corrections to history would mysteriously emerge. Lost documents would surface, new witnesses would appear, or scholars would realize they'd misinterpreted earlier translations. A blind poetess named Jennifer Gray, who spent her days reciting histories in the library courtyard, sensed something unusual in Matthew's work. "You've discovered that time is not a straight line," she said, "but a scroll that can be edited from any point. The past is as fluid as ink until consciousness observes it into fixed form." You see, dear reader, what we call the past is merely a story we tell ourselves about what happened. Change the story mindfully, with proper respect for the spaces between what was and what could be, and reality itself will shift to accommodate the new narrative. This is not about denying truth, but about recognizing that multiple versions of truth exist simultaneously until observed. Practice it. Choose a challenging event from your past on a blank parchment or paper. Write 2 versions, the remembered version and a wisdom version. In the wisdom version, everyone involved, including you, acted from their highest consciousness. Read both versions daily for 1 week, paying special attention to the spaces between the words. Watch how your present reality begins shifting as the past reorganizes itself around the higher narrative. Remember, you are not changing what happened. You are discovering that what happened has always contained more possibilities than you previously observed. In the game of consciousness, the past is as much a player as the present, and both await your wise editing. Chapter 6, Catching Thoughts. Along the misty shores of ancient Vietnam, there lived a peculiar fisherman named Joshua Kim. While other fishermen cast their nets wide hoping to catch as many fish as possible, Joshua would sit motionless for hours, holding a single silken thread in the water. What's more peculiar, he often caught more fish than anyone else. One foggy morning, a traveling monk named Patricia Henderson noticed Joshua pulling in a massive fish with his seemingly inadequate thread. "How do you catch such bounty with so little?" she asked. Joshua smiled, continuing his careful movements. "Watch the water," he said. "See how fish, move in patterns. They circle what they desire, then dash away from what they fear. Understanding these patterns is more important than the size of your net." The monk's eyes widened. "You're not really fishing at all, are you?" "The mind is like this bay," Joshua explained, gesturing to the misty waters. "Thoughts swim through it like fish. Most people try to grab every thought that passes, ending up with a tangled net of worries. But watch." He held his thread still as a large fish approached. Just when it seemed the fish would swim away, Joshua twitched the thread ever so slightly. The fish, believing it had discovered prey rather than being hunted, charged forward and hooked itself. "You see?" Joshua grinned. "Thoughts like fish chase what retreats and flee what pursues. Try to grab a thought and it darts away. Create space around it, and it swims closer of its own accord." You see, dear reader, your mind is an ocean teeming with thoughts. Some thoughts serve you like nourishing fish, while others are best released back to the depths. The secret lies not in frantically grabbing at every thought that surfaces, but in mindfully selecting which ones to reel in and which to let swim by. Joshua went on to teach this single thread technique to others. His students learned that catching fish and catching thoughts required the same 3 principles: patience, pattern recognition, and the wisdom to know which catches were worth keeping. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a thought fisher. Find a quiet place and cast your awareness like a single thread into your mind's waters. Don't chase thoughts, simply observe their patterns. When a limiting thought appears, don't fight it. Instead, create space around it and watch how it transforms. Keep only the thoughts that nourish your spirit, releasing all others back to the depths. Remember, in the game of consciousness, your attention is the thread, your awareness the skillful hand that holds it. Master the art of catching thoughts, and you master the art of living. Chapter 7, The Reset Function. In the serene mountain temples of ancient Korea, there lived a renowned painter named Sarah Lopez, whose brushwork was said to capture not just the appearance of things, but their very essence. Her paintings of flowers seemed to release actual fragrance, and her landscapes stirred memories in viewers of places they'd never been. Yet despite her mastery, Sarah found herself increasingly troubled. Each new commission brought greater expectations, until her brush felt heavy with the weight of anticipated perfection. Her studio became filled with half-finished works, each abandoned when it failed to meet her impossible standards. One moonlit night, Frustrated by yet another unsatisfactory attempt, Sarah began methodically painting an entire canvas pure white, erasing hours of work. As she completed this act of artistic surrender, something extraordinary happened. The blank canvas began to glow with an inner light that illuminated the entire room. A peculiar temple gardener named Gregory Bell, known for tending to empty plots with the same care as flourishing ones, noticed the light and approached. "Ah," he said, leaning on his rake, "you've discovered the sacred empty." "I've discovered failure," Sarah sighed. Gregory chuckled. "Look closer at that white canvas. What do you see?" "Nothing," Sarah replied. "Exactly," Gregory exclaimed. "And what can fit into nothing?" "Everything," Sarah whispered, suddenly understanding. "And you see, dear reader, the game of life provides a hidden reset function, the pure potential of emptiness. Just as every painter must start with a blank canvas, every moment offers you the chance to clear your mental workspace and begin anew. The present moment is your white canvas, eternally empty of past mistakes and future anxieties." Sarah began spending time each morning in meditation before an empty canvas, not painting, just witnessing its infinite potential. Her art transformed. Rather than struggling to create perfection, she learned to empty herself and let the paintings emerge from that sacred space of possibility. Practice. For the next week, create deliberate empty spaces in your day. Spend 5 minutes staring at a blank wall or empty sky. Don't try to fill the emptiness with thoughts or plans. Simply witness the vast potential of nothing. Notice how this reset function begins clearing old mental patterns, making space for fresh creativity to emerge. Remember, in this cosmic game, the most powerful moves often begin with emptiness. When you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or lost in complexity, the reset function awaits. Sometimes the greatest masterpiece starts with painting everything white and beginning again. Chapter 8: Ingredients of Reality. In the bustling markets of ancient Damascus, where spices perfumed the air and merchants called their wares, there worked a mysterious baker named Daniel Torres. Unlike other bakers who simply followed recipes, Daniel treated his bakery like an alchemist's laboratory, speaking to his ingredients in whispers and measuring portions by candlelight at exactly midnight. His breads were known throughout the region not just for their taste, but for their inexplicable effects. Those who ate his courage loaf found themselves conquering lifelong fears. His prosperity rolls seemed to attract gold like magnets. Most remarkable was his clarity cake, which customers claimed could solve any confusion after a single bite. One scorching afternoon, a wandering mystic named Helen Barrett noticed Daniel adding strange ingredients to his dough, not physical substances, but rather gestures of his hands through empty air, accompanied by intense gazes and moments of complete stillness. "You're not really baking bread, are you?" Helen asked with knowing eyes. Daniel smiled, continuing his mysterious kneading. "The universe itself is a great oven," he replied, "and reality is the daily bread we all bake together. Most people simply eat what manifests, never realizing they are the bakers." He gestured to his 3 primary mixing bowls. "Here is consciousness, the base flour of existence. Here is attention, the water that gives it form. And here is intention, the fire that transforms it. These 3 ingredients bake every moment of reality, whether we do it mindfully or not." You see, dear reader, your life is a continuous act of baking. Each experience you manifest contains these same 3 essential ingredients. Consciousness provides the substance, Attention shapes the form, and intention supplies the transformative energy. Master these elements, and you master the art of reality creation. Practice for the next 7 days. Become a conscious baker of your reality. Each morning, mix your ingredients with purpose. 1. Begin with pure consciousness, clear awareness free of judgments. 2. Add measured attention. Direct your focus precisely where you wish to create. 3. Apply the fire of intention. Infuse your creation with clear purpose. Start with small loaves. Manifest a moment of peace. Bake a warm conversation. Create a pocket of joy. As your skills improve, gradually work up to larger recipes. Remember, in the cosmic kitchen, you are both the baker and the bread. Every moment is fresh dough in your hands, waiting to be shaped by your consciousness, attention, and intention. Bake mindfully, dear friend, for you're always creating something. Chapter 9, Herding Possibilities. In the windswept highlands of ancient Scotland, where mists danced between emerald hills, there lived a shepherdess named Nicole Parker, who possessed an unusual gift. While other shepherds used dogs and staffs to control their flocks, Nicole simply sat quietly on hillsides, and her sheep would gather and move, as if guided by invisible threads. What puzzled visitors most was how her flock grew exponentially, while others struggled. Where other shepherds lost sheep to wolves and ravines, Nicole's flock multiplied as if possibilities themselves were breeding new sheep into existence. One autumn evening, a wandering seer named Raymond Brooks noticed Nicole sitting cross-legged in her pasture, eyes closed, while her sheep moved in perfect geometric patterns around her. Some appeared solid, while others seemed almost translucent, as if not quite manifested into reality. "Those aren't really sheep, are they?" Raymond asked, settling beside her. Nicole opened one eye and smiled. "Everything we see begins as possibility," she replied. "Thoughts are like sheep, wild, numerous, and eager to wander. Leave them unattended, and they scatter into chaos. Guide them with presence, and they birth new realities." She gestured to a partially translucent lamb. "Watch this one. It exists in potential, like a thought, not yet fully believed. If I focus gentle attention on it," the lamb slowly solidified until it became as real as the others. "Most people try to force their thoughts into rigid pens," Nicole continued. "They use worry as their sheepdog, fear as their staff. But possibilities, like sheep, can't be controlled through force. They must be guided through patient presence. You see, dear reader, your mind is a vast highland pasture where countless thought forms graze. Each thought, when attended to with conscious awareness, has the potential to manifest into reality. The secret lies not in controlling these thoughts, but in gently herding them toward fertile valleys of possibility. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a shepherd of your thoughts. Find a quiet space and imagine your mind as a misty meadow. Notice how your thoughts, like sheep, naturally move in patterns. Don't chase or force them. Simply maintain gentle awareness. 1. Observe which thoughts tend to wander toward dangerous cliffs. 2. Guide nourishing thoughts toward fertile valleys. 3. Watch for new possibilities appearing like translucent lambs. 4. Use patient attention to help beneficial thoughts solidify. Remember, in this game of consciousness, you are the gentle shepherd of infinite possibilities. Your awareness is the curved staff that guides, your presence the warm sunlight that helps thoughts manifest. Tend your flock with wisdom, Dear one, for the realities you experience tomorrow are grazing in your mind today. Chapter 10, Forging Destiny. In the volcanic valleys of ancient Iceland, where Earth's molten heart pushed close to the surface, there worked a legendary blacksmith named Robert Miller. Unlike other craftsmen who simply hammered metal into shape, Robert had discovered a profound secret that the laws governing the transformation of metal mirrored the very principles of consciousness itself. His forge sat at the edge of a geothermal spring where steam rose eternally into the cold air. Visitors noticed something peculiar. Robert spent as much time in silent meditation before his anvil as he did working metal. Most curious was how his creations seemed to carry properties that transcended their physical form. Swords he forged brought victory through wisdom rather than violence. His plowshares made barren fields fertile before ever touching soil. One midwinter's night, a traveling mystic named Patricia Henderson watched as Robert held a piece of glowing iron aloft, studying it with unusual intensity. "Brother," she called, "why do you stare so deeply into that metal?" Robert's eyes never left the cooling iron. "Watch closely," he replied. "See how the metal passes through distinct states, rigid, softening, fluid, then solid again. Consciousness follows the same laws. We remain trapped in old forms until applying sufficient heat of attention transforms us into something new." He thrust the iron back into the flames. Most try to change their lives through force, like hammering cold metal. But first, we must generate the heat of pure awareness. When consciousness is sufficiently energized, transformation becomes effortless. You see, dear reader, your attention is the forge fire that enables all change. Just as metal requires specific temperatures to become malleable, consciousness needs precise levels of sustained awareness to transform reality. Too little heat leaves us rigid in old patterns. Too much burns away useful structure. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a master forger of consciousness. 1. Begin each morning at your inner forge, meditation position. 2. Generate heat through focused breathing and presence. And 3. When awareness glows bright, introduce one pattern you wish to transform. 4th, hold steady attention like a skilled blacksmith, neither forcing nor withdrawing. 5. Allow natural cooling and integration. Start with small pieces, perhaps a habit or belief that no longer serves. Work up to forging larger aspects of your destiny as your mastery grows. Remember, in this cosmic forge, you are both the blacksmith and the metal being shaped. The fire of consciousness is always burning, ready to transform what you place within it. Heat your awareness with wisdom, dear one, for every moment offers the chance to forge yourself anew. Act 2, the intermediate codes. Chapter 11, Zooming Out. In the starlit mountains of ancient Tibet, where thin air brought heaven's mysteries closer to Earth, there lived an unusual astronomer named Ashley Walker. Unlike other stargazers who merely mapped celestial movements, Ashley had discovered that shifting between cosmic and earthly perspective could alter the very nature of reality. Her observatory sat atop the highest peak, accessible only by a treacherous path that wound through clouds. Most peculiar was her enormous brass telescope, which she often pointed downward at the village below, rather than upward at the stars. Visitors noticed that those who looked through her lens emerged with peaceful smiles, their previous troubles seemingly dissolved into nothing. One moonless night, a troubled merchant named Gregory Martinez climbed the mountain, burdened by seemingly insurmountable problems. He found Ashley adjusting her telescope's intricate dials. "Before you speak of your troubles," she said without turning, "look here." She gestured to her telescope, now aimed at a distant galaxy. "See that spiral of stars?" she asked as Gregory peered through the lens. "Each point of light is a sun. Each sun warms countless worlds. Each world holds millions of stories. Now, ... She shifted the telescope downward. "Look at the village, where your problems reside." From the mountain height, the village that once seemed to contain Gregory's whole world appeared tiny, almost insignificant against the vast landscape. "Your consciousness," Ashley explained, "is like this telescope. You can zoom in until problems fill your entire view, or zoom out until they become stars in a greater galaxy of experience. The game of reality shifts dramatically depending on your chosen perspective. You see, dear reader, every challenge that looms large in your immediate view becomes remarkably different when observed from a higher vantage point. This is not about minimizing your experience, but rather about accessing the cosmic zoom function built into your awareness. Practice. For the next 7 days, become an astronomer of your own experience. 1. When facing a challenge, first observe it at its current magnitude. 2. Gradually zoom your awareness outward. See the challenge within your day. 3. Zoom further. See your day within your year. 4. Continue until you can hold both cosmic and immediate perspectives simultaneously. Notice how the nature of the challenge transforms with each shift in perspective. Start with small concerns and practice expanding your view. As your skill develops, apply this cosmic zoom to larger challenges. Remember, in this vast game of existence, you are both the observer and the cosmic lens through which all is viewed. Every problem contains within it a constellation of solutions, visible only from the right perspective. Adjust your focal length wisely, dear one, for you are always free to choose the magnitude of your vision. Chapter 12, Healing by Not Healing. In the misty bamboo forests of ancient China, where healing herbs grew wild beneath jade-green canopies, there lived an unusual medicine woman named Jennifer Hayes. Unlike other healers who prescribed elaborate remedies, Jennifer was known for her peculiar method. She would often sit silently with the ill, doing absolutely nothing, and miraculous recoveries would follow. Her humble healing hut sat beside a clear spring, its walls lined not with dried herbs and potions, but with empty spaces and untouched bowls. Most curious was how the sickest patients, those given up by other healers, would seek her out. They would enter her hut desperate and leave transformed, though none could explain exactly what had changed. One autumn morning, an apprentice healer named Melissa Turner watched in confusion as Jennifer sat perfectly still beside a man racked with fever. No medicines were given, no healing touches offered. "Why do you not help him?" Melissa whispered urgently. Jennifer's reply came soft as bamboo leaves rustling. "Watch closely. See how nature itself knows the perfect dance of healing. When we rush to fix, we interrupt the body's ancient wisdom. True healing comes not from doing, but from creating space for wholeness to remember itself." As they watched, the man's breathing gradually steadied, his fever cooling like morning dew, evaporating in sunlight. "Most healers," Jennifer continued, "try to force health like pushing a river upstream. But healing flows naturally when we stop blocking its path with our anxious doing. The body knows wholeness as its natural state. Our task is simply to observe without interference." You see, dear reader, every challenge in life contains its own resolution, like a flower contains the pattern of its blooming. When we frantically try to fix situations, we often entangle ourselves in the very patterns we wish to transform. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a witness to life's natural healing wisdom. 1. Choose one situation you've been trying to force or fix. 2. Sit quietly beside it like a healer beside a patient. 3. Notice your impulse to intervene and gently let it pass. 4. Allow space for natural resolution to emerge. 5. Observe what shifts when you stop blocking the flow with doing. Start with small concerns before practicing with larger challenges. Trust that wisdom flows naturally when given space. Remember, in this game of consciousness, you are both the healer and that which needs healing. The power of transformation lives in the space between doing and non-doing. Rest in aware presence, dear one, for the greatest medicines are often found in the gentle art of letting be. Chapter 13. Multiple Reality Streams. In the floating gardens of ancient Tenochtitlan, where bridges of flowers connected countless floating islands, there lived an extraordinary juggler named Ryan Cooper. Unlike common entertainers who merely tossed objects through the air, Ryan had discovered that juggling revealed the hidden nature of parallel realities. His performances took place on a special platform where 4 canals intersected. Most peculiar was how observers swore they saw different patterns in his juggling. Some saw flames, others saw droplets of water, yet others saw streaks of light, all from the same flowing movements. One misty morning, a young priestess named Tiffany Brooks watched in wonder as Ryan kept 7 different colored spheres in constant motion, each seeming to occupy the same space without collision. "How can they all exist together without chaos?" she asked. Ryan smiled, never breaking his rhythm. "Watch closely," he said. "See how each sphere follows its own perfect path, yet all move in harmony? Reality works the same way. What seems contradictory at first glance is simply multiple truths dancing together." He added an 8th sphere, impossibly weaving it into the pattern. "Most people try to grab just one truth, holding it still to study it. But truth is like these spheres. It must stay in motion, flowing between different states. When we learn to hold multiple streams of reality simultaneously, we transcend the illusion of conflict. You see, dear reader, life rarely presents single static truths. Like a master juggler's art, wisdom comes from maintaining multiple possibilities in harmonious motion. The universe itself is a grand juggling act of infinite potential, collapsing into particular patterns only when we fix our attention too rigidly. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a reality juggler. 1. Begin with 2 seemingly contradictory truths about yourself. 2. Hold them both in your awareness without trying to resolve them. 3. Add a 3rd perspective, keeping all in gentle motion. Notice how your mind wants to catch and fix one truth as final. Practice maintaining multiple viewpoints in fluid harmony. Start with simple paradoxes before attempting more complex patterns. The goal isn't to resolve contradictions, but to dance with them gracefully. Remember, in this cosmic performance, you are both the juggler and the spheres in motion. Every perspective contains its own truth, and mastery comes not from choosing sides, but from keeping all possibilities alive in the dance of consciousness. Flow with the patterns, dear one, for reality's richest gifts emerge when we embrace its multiplicity. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Unwritten Books. In the ancient desert city of Alexandria, Where knowledge flowed like water through countless scrolls and codices, there lived an unusual librarian named Stephanie Reed. Unlike other keepers of wisdom who proudly displayed their most precious texts, Stephanie maintained a secret chamber filled with blank books bound in white leather. Her library chamber lay beneath the main halls, accessible only through a spiraling staircase that seemed to descend into pure darkness. Most curious was how visitors emerged from this room, appearing more enlightened than those who spent years studying the written texts above. One windswept evening, a young scholar named Todd Henderson discovered Stephanie sitting cross-legged among her blank volumes, her fingers tracing invisible words across empty chapters. "What wisdom can empty books possibly contain?" he asked, unable to hide his skepticism. Stephanie looked up with eyes that sparkled like stars in desert nights. "Take this one," she said, handing him a pristine white tome. "Tell me what you see." As Todd opened the blank chapters, something extraordinary happened. In the empty spaces between absence and form, stories began to whisper, not with written words, but with pure potential. "You see," Stephanie explained, "written words capture just one version of truth, frozen in time. But blank chapters, they hold every possible story waiting to be born. These books contain not what is, but what could be. And that, dear one, is where true power resides." She gestured to the thousands of empty volumes surrounding them. "Most seek wisdom already manifested, but the greatest secrets lie in the unwritten, in the space of pure possibility. Every blank page is a portal to infinite potential. You see, dear reader, the universe itself begins as an empty page, waiting for consciousness to dance with possibility. When we learn to read the unwritten, we access the very source from which all manifestation springs. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a reader of the unmanifested. 1. Sit quietly with an empty journal or blank paper. 2. Allow your awareness to rest in the empty space. 3. Notice how possibilities arise without forcing them. 4. Read the wisdom that exists before words. Practice seeing the unwritten potential in all situations. Start with brief moments of empty page meditation before extending your practice. Remember, in this grand library of existence, you are both the reader and the unwritten story. Every moment arrives as a blank page, pregnant with infinite potential. Rest in the empty spaces, dear one, for the most profound wisdom often whispers in silence, waiting for those who know how to read nothing. Chapter 15, Perfect Timing Codes. In the hanging gardens of ancient Persia, where seasonal flowers cascaded down terraced walls like frozen waterfalls of color, there lived an unusual gardener named Brian Foster. Unlike other cultivators who forced blooms for the king's pleasure, Brian had discovered a mysterious secret. Plants flowered most magnificently when he learned to read their hidden timing codes. His private garden spiral lay behind the royal grounds, where flowers bloomed in impossible sequences that defied nature's known patterns. Most peculiar was how damaged or dying plants from across the kingdom would flourish under his care, though he seemed to do nothing but watch them with patient eyes. One drought-scorched summer, the king's daughter, Tracy Henderson, brought him a withered rose bush, demanding it bloom for tomorrow's festival. "I shall help it remember its own timing," Brian said, placing the plant in a shaded corner. "But we need flowers now," Tracy protested. "Can't you make it bloom faster?" Brian smiled, gesturing to a seemingly dead branch that had suddenly sprouted perfect white blossoms. "Watch closely," he said. "See how this one bloomed the moment we stopped forcing it? Everything in existence carries its own perfect timing code. When we rush nature's rhythm, we create discord. When we align with its hidden patterns, we witness miracles. He led Tracy through his spiral garden where flowers opened and closed in harmonious waves. Most gardeners, he continued, try to control life's timing like puppet masters pulling strings. But true mastery comes from learning to read the subtle codes woven into each moment. Everything blooms precisely when it should, not a breath before or after. You see, dear reader, every desire you hold carries its own divine timing, like a flower contains the exact moment of its blooming. When we frantically rush manifestation, we often create malformed results that wither quickly. Practice for the next 7 days. Become a reader of timing codes. 1. Choose one goal or desire you've been forcing. 2nd, step back and observe its natural rhythm. 3rd, notice any pushing or rushing energy. 4. Allow its perfect timing to reveal itself. 5. Watch for subtle signs of natural unfolding. Start with small desires before practicing with larger life changes. Remember, in this cosmic garden, you are both the gardener and the growing thing. Every manifestation has its season, its perfect moment of emergence. Trust the wisdom encoded in life's timing, dear one. For the sweetest flowers bloom not through force, but through patience with nature's perfect plan. Chapter 16. The Power of Nothing. In the mathematical temples of ancient Sumer, where scholars traced sacred geometry in sand-filled courtyards, there lived an eccentric mathematician named Kevin Park. Unlike others who sought to count the infinite, Kevin had become obsessed with understanding the profound nature of zero. His meditation chamber was peculiar, a perfectly circular room with no decorations, no furniture, and walls painted pure white. Most curious was how visitors reported experiencing extraordinary visions in this empty space, though Kevin claimed he had added nothing to it. One windswept evening, a frustrated young apprentice named Tracy Henderson found Kevin sitting motionless in his bare chamber. "Master," she sighed, "I've counted everything in existence, yet feel no closer to wisdom. What am I missing?" Kevin traced a circle in the sand between them. "Tell me," he said, "what do you see?" "A circle," Tracy replied. "Look deeper," Kevin whispered. "What does the circle contain?" "Nothing," she answered. Kevin's eyes sparkled. But that nothing is everything. This circle is like consciousness. Its power lies not in what it contains, but in its capacity to contain. Zero isn't absence. It's infinite potential waiting to manifest. He swept the circle smooth. "Most seekers," he continued, "frantically gather numbers, adding and multiplying their experiences. But true power lies in emptiness, in the pregnant void from which all numbers emerge. Zero is not nothing, it is the womb of everything. You see, dear reader, consciousness operates like zero. Its power lies not in what it currently holds, but in its limitless capacity to hold anything. When we empty ourselves of preconceptions, we access the same fertile void from which the universe eternally springs. Practice. For the next 7 days, explore the power of zero. 1. Create an empty space in your home. 2nd, sit within this void for increasing periods. 3. Notice how your mind tries to fill emptiness. 4. Experience zero as fertile potential. 5. Allow manifestation to arise from nothing. Start with small periods of emptiness before expanding. Remember, in this infinite game, you are both the zero and what emerges from it. Every moment of emptiness contains the seed of infinite possibility. Rest in the void, dear one, for the greatest power lies not in what you grasp, but in your capacity to contain all that may come. Chapter 17, The Notes Between Notes. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient China, where bamboo wind chimes sang nature's symphony, there lived an unusual composer named Michel Torres. Unlike other musicians who filled scrolls with intricate melodies, Michel had discovered that true music dwelled in the spaces between sounds. Her meditation pavilion sat perched above a valley where wind and water played eternal songs. Most remarkable was how visitors would weep upon hearing her seemingly simple compositions, though they contained fewer notes than any traditional piece. One autumn morning, a frustrated court musician named Dennis Phillips sought her guidance, carrying scrolls of complex imperial compositions. "I've written 1,000 notes," he sighed, "yet my music touches no one's heart. What am I missing?" Michel picked up her bamboo flute but didn't play. Instead, she held up one finger, inviting Dennis to listen to the wind moving through the valley. "What do you hear?" she asked. "The spaces between the wind gusts," he replied, surprising himself. Michel smiled. "Exactly. Music isn't in the notes, it's in the silence that gives them meaning, like a master calligrapher who understands that empty space defines the characters. A true musician plays the silence between sounds." She demonstrated with 3 simple notes on her flute, letting each one dissolve completely before offering the next. The melody brought tears to Dennis's eyes, though he couldn't explain why. "Most musicians," she continued, "stuff their compositions with notes, fearing emptiness. But true mastery lies in playing the spaces between, for that is where the soul of music dwells. Each pause is a doorway through which beauty enters." You see, dear reader, consciousness flows like music through the chambers of existence. Its power lies not in constant doing, but in the sacred pauses that give each action its meaning. When we learn to rest in these spaces, we access the same silence from which all creation's music flows. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a composer of conscious pauses. 1. Create 3 intentional silence periods daily. 2. Let each action completely dissolve before beginning another. 3. Notice the quality of spaces between thoughts. 4. Experience stillness as pregnant possibility. 5. Allow rhythm to emerge naturally from silence and start with brief pauses before extending their duration. Remember, in this cosmic symphony, you are both the musician and the silence between notes. Every pause contains the seed of the next perfect sound. Rest in the spaces, dear one, for the most profound music often plays in moments when nothing seems to be happening at all. Chapter 18, Building with Thought. In the forgotten city of Heliopolis, where golden temples pierced the clouds like rays of frozen sunlight, there lived an extraordinary architect named Jeremy Scott. Unlike other builders who began their work with stone and chisel, Jeremy had discovered that every structure must first be built completely in consciousness before taking physical form. His unusual workshop contained no tools or materials, only a meditation cushion in its center. Most peculiar was how his buildings seemed to emerge from the earth as if they had always been there, though no one ever saw them under construction. One misty dawn, a wealthy spice merchant named Todd Henderson approached Jeremy with an impossible request. "Build me a palace that captures the essence of dreams," Todd demanded, dropping a heavy purse of gold. Jeremy returned the gold and gestured to the empty air between them. "First," he said, "we must build it here, in the space where all possibilities exist. "But there's nothing there," Todd protested. Jeremy's eyes twinkled. But that nothingness is everything. Watch closely." He moved his hands through the air with deliberate grace, and suddenly Todd gasped. For a moment he could see the ghostly outline of a magnificent structure floating before them. "All great works," Jeremy explained, "exist first in the realm of pure potential. Most builders rush to move stones, not realizing that physical construction is merely the final echo of a building already completed in consciousness." For 7 days, Jeremy sat in meditation, building the palace in the subtle realms while his workers waited patiently. On the 8th day, he opened his eyes and nodded. The actual construction took mere weeks, with every stone finding its place as if drawn by an invisible magnet. You see, dear reader, reality itself operates like the architect's art. Every manifestation must be fully built in consciousness before it can emerge in form. When we rush to action before completing the inner blueprint, we create structures that lack foundation in the deeper realms. Practice. For the next 7 days, become an architect of consciousness. 1. Choose one desire you wish to manifest. 2. Sit in silence, building it completely in your mind. 3. Feel its reality in the subtle realms. 4th, notice any gaps in your inner blueprint. 5. Only begin outer action when inner construction is complete. Start with small manifestations before attempting larger creations. Remember, in this cosmic workshop, you are both the architect and the building material. Every desire must be carefully constructed in consciousness before taking form. Build with patience, dear one, for the most enduring structures are those that were completed in thought before the first stone was laid. Chapter 19. Riding the Chaos Waves. In the tempestuous waters of the ancient Phoenician coast, where merchant ships feared to sail, there lived a legendary captain named Aaron Brooks. Unlike other sailors who waited for calm seas, Aaron had discovered that storms themselves contained hidden pathways to extraordinary destinations. His peculiar vessel bore no name and possessed sails that seemed to shift color like mother of pearl. Most remarkable was how his ship would vanish into the heart of maelstroms, only to emerge days later, laden with treasures from unknown shores. One stormy evening, a frustrated navigator named Tracy Phillips sought his counsel as thunder shook the harbor. "The chaos of the sea defeats all my charts," she lamented. "How can we plot a course through such unpredictability?" Aaron guided her to the helm of his ship, where crystal pendulums swayed in intricate patterns despite the turbulent waves. "Watch closely," he whispered. "The chaos only appears random. Each wave moves in perfect harmony with forces we cannot see. The secret isn't to fight the storm, but to become one with its dance." He spun the wheel with surprising gentleness, and the ship began moving in fluid spirals that matched the sea's rhythm. Rather than cutting through waves, the vessel seemed to flow with them, riding each swell like a dancer following music. "Most sailors, Aubrey," he explained, "waste their strength fighting against nature's momentum. But true mastery lies in surrendering to the storm's intelligence. These waves know where they're going. Our task is simply to join their journey." You see, dear reader, consciousness navigates like a ship through existence's ever-changing seas. Its power lies not in forcing a straight path, but in flowing with the intelligent chaos that guides all things. When we learn to ride these waves rather than resist them, we discover they carry us precisely where we need to go. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a navigator of life's storms. 1. Identify one chaos pattern currently moving through your life. 2. Rather than resist, study its rhythm and direction. Notice how fighting creates exhaustion while flowing creates momentum. Practice riding each wave of change instead of swimming against it. 5. Trust that the storm itself knows the way. Start with small disruptions before attempting larger ones. Remember, in this cosmic ocean, you are both the sailor and the sea. Every storm contains a hidden course to treasure. Flow with the chaos, dear one, for the most profound destinations are often reached not by conquering the waves, but by learning their sacred dance. Chapter 20. Threading Synchronicities. In the cloud-kissed valleys of ancient Tibet, where prayer flags whispered secrets to the wind, there lived an extraordinary weaver named Rachel Adams. Unlike other artisans who planned their tapestries in advance, Rachel had discovered that the threads themselves carried hidden patterns waiting to emerge. Her peculiar loom stood beside an ancient glacial pool that reflected ever-changing sky patterns. Most remarkable was how her finished works seemed to shift and dance in the light, revealing different images depending on the viewer's state of mind. One misty morning, a frustrated royal weaver named Gregory Barnes sought her wisdom, carrying an intricate design commissioned by the emperor. "No matter how precisely I follow the pattern," he sighed, "the emperor remains unsatisfied. What am I missing?" Rachel smiled and gestured to her empty loom, where loose threads swayed in the mountain breeze. "Watch," she whispered, as her fingers began to dance among the threads without any apparent plan. To Gregory's amazement, the random movements gradually revealed an intricate pattern, more beautiful than any deliberate design could achieve. The image seemed to weave itself, with Rachel merely facilitating its emergence. "Most weavers," she explained, "strangle their creations with rigid intentions, but true mastery lies in listening to the threads themselves. Each fiber carries its own intelligence, seeking its perfect place in the greater pattern." She guided Gregory's hands to feel the subtle pull of the threads. "Feel how they want to move. That's the universe's design flowing through your fingers. Your task isn't to impose a pattern, but to midwife the one that's already there. You see, dear reader, life itself weaves like an infinite tapestry through the loom of existence. Its beauty emerges not from our rigid plans, but from our willingness to follow the subtle patterns already in motion. When we release our grip on intended outcomes, we become vessels for something far more magnificent. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a weaver of synchronicities. 1. Notice the invisible threads connecting daily events. 2. Release one rigid expectation each morning. 3. Follow subtle pulls toward unexpected directions. 4. Allow patterns to reveal themselves naturally. 5. Trust the greater design unfolding through your life. Start with small matters before attempting larger ones. Remember, in this cosmic weaving, you are both the weaver and the thread. Every moment carries its own intelligence, seeking to create patterns more beautiful than the mind could plan. Flow with the design, dear one. For the most exquisite tapestries emerge not from forcing our will, but from dancing with the threads of destiny already in motion. Act 3. The Master-Level Exploits. Chapter 21. Infinite Feedback Loops. In the shimmering oasis city of Alamut, where light danced like liquid gold through crystal domes, there lived a mysterious mirror maker named Sean Campbell. Unlike other artisans who crafted mirrors from polished metal, Sean had discovered how to forge reflective surfaces that showed not what was, but what could be. His workshop sat atop a spiral tower that caught the first and last light of each day. Most extraordinary were his possibility pools, mirrors that rippled like water, yet remained solid, each showing different potential futures depending on how the viewer observed them. One twilight evening, a troubled oracle named Melissa Turner sought his wisdom, carrying a cracked divination mirror. "My visions grow dark and uncertain," she confessed. "How can I see clearly what's to come?" Sean led her to a circular chamber lined with his strange mirrors. "Watch carefully," he whispered. As Melissa gazed into the first mirror, she saw herself leaving in disappointment. But when she smiled at her reflection, the image shifted to show her dancing with joy. "The future," Sean explained, "is like light bouncing between infinite mirrors. Each observation creates ripples that echo through time. We don't simply see what will be. We participate in its creation through the very act of looking." He demonstrated by having Melissa walk the chamber's circumference, each mirror showing a different potential future based on her shifting emotional state. "Most seekers," he continued, "believe they're passive observers of destiny. But every moment of observation is actually a moment of creation, shaping tomorrow's reflections." You see, dear reader, reality itself operates like these magical mirrors, reflecting back not just what is, but what might be. The future emerges not from fixed destiny, but from an infinite dance between observer and observed, each shaping the other in endless feedback loops. Practice, and for the next 7 days become a shaper of future reflections. 1. Begin each morning gazing into a mirror. 2. Notice how your emotional state affects what you see. 3. Consciously shift your inner state while observing. 4th, watch how external reality begins mirroring these shifts. 5. Practice seeing through the eyes of your desired future self. Start with small reflections before attempting larger visions. Remember, in this cosmic hall of mirrors, you are both the viewer and the viewed. Every observation ripples through time's fabric, shaping the reflections yet to come. Look wisely, dear one, for the future you see depends entirely on the eyes through which you choose to see it. Chapter 22, Level Jumping. In the mist-veiled mountains of ancient Nepal, where reality's boundaries grew thin as spider silk, there lived an extraordinary dreamwalker named Megan Phillips. Unlike other mystics who journeyed in sleep alone, Megan had discovered how to carry dream logic into the waking world. Her unusual dwelling existed simultaneously in multiple places, sometimes appearing as a humble cave, other times as an ornate temple, depending on which level of reality the visitor perceived. Most remarkable was how she could step between these layers as easily as others walked through doorways. One moonless night, a perplexed dream interpreter named Todd Henderson sought her guidance, troubled by visions that seemed to bleed into his waking life. "The boundaries between sleeping and waking grow unstable," he fretted. "How can I maintain proper separation?" Megan smiled and plucked a flower that seemed to phase between lotus and rose. "Watch closely," she whispered. The flower multiplied into countless variations, each existing in a different layer of reality, yet all occupying the same space. "Most seekers," she explained, believe reality is a single fixed level, like a painting on a wall. But existence is more like an infinite stack of translucent paintings, each influencing the others. The trick isn't to separate the layers, but to learn to move between them consciously. She guided Todd through a simple movement, a half-step sideways that somehow landed in a different version of the same moment. The cave became a palace, became a forest, yet remained fundamentally unchanged. You see, dear reader, consciousness naturally flows between infinite levels of reality, like water finding its way through hidden channels. When we release our grip on what's real, we discover that all possibilities exist simultaneously, waiting for our attention to bring them into focus. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a walker between worlds. 1. Before sleep, choose a dream symbol to carry into waking life. 2. Upon waking, maintain dream logic for the first few minutes. 3. Practice seeing multiple possibilities in single objects. Notice how reality shifts with your level of attention. 5. Allow yourself to experience multiple versions of each moment. Start with small shifts before attempting larger jumps. Remember, in this cosmic game, you are both the player and the levels themselves. Every moment contains infinite parallel possibilities, each as real as your willingness to perceive it. Step lightly, dear one, for the boundaries between dreams and waking are far more permeable than you've been led to believe. Chapter 23, The Beginner's Exploit. In the bustling city-state of Ur, where wisdom was measured in scrolls and titles, there lived an unusual figure known as Brandon Martinez. While scholars debated in marble halls, Brandon spent his days in the marketplace wearing a patchwork robe and speaking in riddles that made children laugh and merchants pause. Most peculiar was his habit of asking questions so simple they made wise men stutter. "Why is water wet?" he would inquire of renowned philosophers. "What color is the wind?" he would ask master painters. His apparent foolishness masked a wisdom that transformed all who truly listened. One autumn morning, as leaves danced like copper coins, the kingdom's most celebrated advisor, named Philip Henderson, approached Brandon, troubled by his inability to solve the realm's mounting problems. "Despite all my knowledge," Philip sighed, "my solutions only seem to create more complications." Brandon responded by picking up a handful of dirt and letting it slip through his fingers. "See how the earth falls?" he grinned. "It doesn't need to study gravity to know which way is down." To Philip's bewilderment, Brandon then began spinning in circles, arms outstretched like a child at play. "Wisdom isn't in knowing more," he called out while spinning. "It's in forgetting what blocks the knowing that's already there." You see, dear reader, the deepest truths often hide behind our very certainty of how things work. The master's mind is cluttered with techniques, but the beginner's mind flows like clear water, reflecting reality without distortion. When Brandon was later asked how he could solve problems that stumped the wisest scholars, he simply replied, "I don't know enough to know what's impossible." This holy ignorance, this sacred beginner's mind, access solutions invisible to expertise. Practice. For the next 7 days, cultivate the power of not knowing. 1. Each morning, choose one thing you're certain about and release that certainty. 2. When facing problems, ask yourself what a child would do. 3. Practice approaching familiar situations as if experiencing them for the first time. 4. Ask simple questions that have no right answer. 5. Let your not knowing be a doorway to fresh perception. Start with small matters before approaching life's greater mysteries. And remember, in this cosmic game, your greatest advantage lies not in what you know, but in your willingness to not know. The fool's wisdom comes not from accumulating knowledge, but from maintaining the pristine clarity of a beginner's mind. Play freely, dear one. For sometimes the most profound insights arrive through holy foolishness rather than serious seeking. Chapter 24. Hacking Linear Time. In the ancient desert city of Heliopolis, where massive sundials cast shadows across temple walls, there lived an extraordinary timekeeper named Amber Young. Unlike other chronologists who measured time by sand and water, Amber had discovered how to read the subtle rhythms that existed between moments. Her observatory was unique, a spiraling chamber carved into living crystal, where time itself seemed to flow like honey, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Most remarkable was her collection of moment vessels, crystalline spheres that appeared to contain frozen instances of time. One scorching afternoon, a harried merchant named Dennis Reed sought her wisdom, distressed by time's apparent acceleration as he aged. "The days blur past like wind," he lamented. "How can I grasp them before they slip away?" Amber lifted one of her moment vessels, within which a butterfly appeared eternally suspended between wingbeats. "Observe carefully," she whispered. As Dennis watched, the butterfly's wings began to move, not in regular beats, but in waves that stretched and compressed like fabric being folded. "Time," she explained, "isn't a river flowing at constant speed, but a dance between consciousness and possibility. When you measure it with devices, it appears linear, but when you measure it with awareness, it becomes as flexible as thought itself." To demonstrate, she guided Dennis through a series of breaths, some quick, some luxuriously slow. With each breath, the chamber's ambient light shifted, moments expanding and contracting like a celestial accordion. You see, dear reader, what we call time is merely the mind's way of organizing experience into digestible sequences. But consciousness itself exists outside these artificial boundaries, able to expand a second into eternity or compress hours into a single breath. Practice and for the next 7 days become a sculptor of temporal flow. 1. Begin each morning by consciously slowing your first 3 breaths. 2. Notice how time feels different during various activities. 3. Practice expanding moments of joy through focused attention. 4. Experiment with compressing routine tasks through altered awareness. 5. Learn to recognize when time's rhythm naturally shifts. Start with brief moments before attempting longer durations. Remember, in this cosmic game, time is not your master, but your dance partner. Every moment contains infinite space when viewed through awakened awareness. Move gracefully, dear one, for when you understand time's true nature, you'll discover that now is always the perfect moment to be fully alive. Chapter 25. Integrating the Dark Code. In the shadow-draped caves of ancient Thrace, where dancers performed sacred mysteries by torchlight, there lived an unusual mystic named Timothy Evans. Unlike other temple performers who sought only to embody light, Timothy had mastered the art of dancing with darkness itself. His underground sanctuary contained no illumination, save for phosphorescent fungi that pulsed in rhythm with his movements. Most remarkable was how shadows seemed to bend toward him, like curious children, eager to join his eternal dance. One twilight evening, a troubled priestess named Helen Martinez sought his guidance, tormented by the darkness she felt growing within her soul. "I've spent years fighting these shadows," she confessed, "yet they only grow stronger." Timothy extinguished her torch with a gentle breath. "Watch," he whispered. In the perfect darkness, he began to move. As Helen's eyes adjusted, she witnessed something extraordinary. The deeper the darkness grew, the more Timothy's form seemed to emit its own subtle radiance. Most seekers, he explained while dancing, treat shadow as an enemy to be vanquished. But darkness is simply light's other face, dreaming of itself. When we fight our shadows, we fight half of our power. He guided Helen through a simple swaying motion, teaching her to feel the darkness as a tangible presence. Let it move through you, he instructed, like ink through water. As she yielded, the shadows began dancing with her rather than against her. You see, dear reader, what we call darkness is merely light in its mysterious form, waiting to be transformed through acceptance rather than resistance. Every shadow you cast is proof of your own radiance, playing at hiding from itself. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a dancer with darkness. 1. Each evening, sit in complete darkness for 3 breaths. 2. Welcome the shadows you normally avoid. 3. Practice moving through darkness with trust rather than fear. Notice how acceptance transforms shadow into subtle light. 5. Learn to read darkness as you would read Braille, through touch rather than sight. Start with small shadows before embracing deeper darkness. Remember, in this cosmic game, light and dark are not opponents, but dance partners in an eternal embrace. Every shadow contains hidden wisdom, waiting to be transformed through the alchemy of acceptance. Move gracefully through both light and darkness, dear one, for wholeness comes not from vanquishing shadows, but from learning to dance with them. Chapter 26. Invisible Navigation. In the shifting sands of ancient Arabia, where maps were useless and stars often obscured by storms, there lived a legendary guide named Brittany Morgan. Unlike other pathfinders who relied on visible landmarks, Brittany could read the subtle currents of energy that flowed beneath the desert's surface like invisible rivers. Her most peculiar habit was walking barefoot through the sand with her eyes closed, head tilted, as if listening to whispers in the wind. Most remarkable was her collection of singing stones, ordinary-looking rocks that hummed different tones when held in specific directions. One windswept dawn, a caravan leader named Gregory Bell sought her guidance after losing 3 expeditions to the desert's deception. The landmarks keep shifting, he lamented, spreading his detailed maps. How can we find true paths in such chaos? Brittany responded by picking up a handful of sand and letting it cascade over one of her singing stones. As the grains fell, they formed intricate patterns that shifted with the stone's vibration. You're reading the surface, she explained, but the way forward speaks in whispers beneath. Feel how the ground pulls differently in each direction. That's the desert's map, written in forces rather than forms. She guided Gregory to remove his shoes and stand barefoot in the sand. Close your eyes, she instructed. The desert's currents flow like rivers through your souls. Some paths pull, others push. Your body knows the way before your mind does. You see, dear reader, beneath the visible world lies a lattice of subtle energies, invisible to eyes, but clear to awakened awareness. These currents guide not just steps through sand, but movements through life itself. Practice. For the next 7 days, attune yourself to subtle guidance. 1. Each morning, stand barefoot on the earth for 3 breaths. Notice which directions feel inviting and which feel resistant. 3. Practice walking with eyes closed in safe spaces. 4. Learn to distinguish between mental noise and body wisdom. 5. Trust the subtle pulls that precede understanding. Start with small decisions before following deeper currents. Remember, in this cosmic game, the clearest paths often can't be seen with eyes. Every moment contains invisible guidance, waiting to be felt rather than figured out. Move confidently, dear one, for when you learn to read life's subtle currents, you'll discover that you're never truly lost. You're just learning to trust a deeper kind of map. Chapter 27. Reality Amplification. In the misty valleys of ancient Tibet, where sound carried for miles through crystalline air, there lived an extraordinary acoustician named Samantha Bell. Unlike other sound masters who merely created music, Samantha had discovered how certain tonal combinations could reshape the very fabric of reality. Her sanctuary was a natural amphitheater of living crystal, where even whispers created cascading harmonics that could shatter stone or cause flowers to bloom instantly. Most remarkable was her collection of reality bells, singing bowls that seemed to vibrate between dimensions, each tone shifting the physical world in subtle ways. One autumn morning, a frustrated glass blower named Todd Henderson sought her wisdom after witnessing one of his finest pieces spontaneously reshape itself while he hummed an ancient tune. "The glass, it moved like water," he stammered. "How can mere sound hold such power?" Samantha lifted one of her smallest bells, barely larger than a teacup. "Listen deeply," she whispered. As she ran her finger along its rim, the air itself seemed to thicken. Nearby pebbles began arranging themselves into perfect geometric patterns. "Reality," she explained, "isn't solid at all, but an endless symphony of vibrating possibilities. Every particle of existence is simply frozen sound, waiting to be retuned. When you understand the song, you can reshape the singer." To demonstrate, she taught Todd a simple humming sequence, 3 tones that, when combined precisely, caused water to spiral upward against gravity. "Matter is merely music moving slowly enough to see," she said, as droplets danced in the air between them. "You see, dear reader, what we perceive as solid reality is actually a crystallized chorus of cosmic frequencies. By learning to adjust these frequencies through focused intention and sound, you can conduct the orchestra of existence itself." Practice. For the next 7 days, become a conductor of reality's symphony. 1. Begin each morning by humming a single pure tone for 3 breaths. 2. Notice how different sounds affect your body's energy. 3rd, practice maintaining consistent vibrations while speaking. 4th, experiment with harmonizing your voice with natural sounds. 5. Learn to feel the resonant frequency of objects before touching them. Start with subtle vibrations before attempting stronger frequencies. Remember, in this cosmic game, sound isn't just something you hear. It's the fundamental programming language of reality. Every atom is a note in the universal symphony, waiting to be retuned through conscious resonance. Sing boldly, dear one, for when you match your frequency to life's deeper harmonies, you become both the music and the musician of your own reality. Chapter 28. Crossing the Impossible. In the perilous mountain passes of ancient Nepal, where narrow paths disappeared into misty chasms, there lived a mysterious bridge builder named Mark Edwards. Unlike other builders who worked with wood and stone, Mark had mastered the art of crossing empty space, using nothing but unwavering faith as his foundation. His most remarkable feat was a series of invisible bridges that spanned impossible gaps between cliffs. Those who trusted could walk safely across, while doubters saw only terrifying void. Most extraordinary was his ritual of testing each bridge by walking it blindfolded, singing ancient verses that seemed to solidify the air beneath his feet. One stormy evening, a trembling merchant named Thomas Phillips arrived at Mark's mountain sanctuary, having lost his entire caravan to a collapsed bridge. "The gap is too wide," Thomas despaired, gesturing to the mist-filled chasm before them. No bridge could ever span such distance. Mark smiled and removed his sandals. "Watch closely," he whispered. To Thomas's astonishment, Mark stepped out into empty space and stood there, as if supported by invisible ground. "The void isn't empty," he explained while balancing on nothing. "It's filled with infinite possibility, waiting to be solidified by absolute trust. The gap exists only in your mind." He guided Thomas to remove his own sandals and face the chasm. "Close your eyes," he instructed. "Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. Now take one step, knowing with complete certainty that you will be supported." You see, dear seeker, what appears as impossible void is merely untested possibility. Every gap in your life is an invitation to discover that faith itself creates the bridge you seek to cross. Practice. For the next 7 days, become a walker of invisible bridges. 1. Each morning, stand before something you believe impossible. 2. Feel the absolute certainty of successful crossing in your body. 3. Take one small step forward, fully trusting you'll be supported. 4. Notice how reality rises to meet unwavering faith. Practice building longer bridges of trust each day. Start with small gaps before attempting wider chasms. Remember, in this cosmic game, impossibility is merely untested possibility. Every void contains invisible support, waiting to be activated through perfect trust. Step forward boldly, dear one. For when you learn that faith itself is the bridge, you'll discover there was never truly any gap to cross, only the illusion of separation, waiting to be dissolved by your unwavering certainty. Chapter 29, Rewriting the Code. In the secret valley of the ancient Indus civilization, where reality's underlying patterns were first decoded, there lived a remarkable pattern weaver named Christina Lewis. Unlike other mystics who interpreted the cosmic design, Christina had discovered how to access reality's source code itself, the fundamental instructions that shaped existence. Her sanctuary was a peculiar courtyard filled with ever-shifting geometric patterns that rearranged themselves when no one watched. Most extraordinary was her collection of living scrolls, texts whose words transformed to answer questions before they were asked, as if reality itself was being continuously rewritten. One moonlit evening, a frustrated oracle named Dennis Hayes sought her wisdom after realizing all his prophecies had become self-fulfilling loops. "The future keeps changing," he lamented, as if reality itself refuses to be predicted. Christina took a blank scroll and began drawing intricate symbols that seemed to move on their own. "Watch closely," she whispered. As Dennis observed, the symbols began rewriting themselves, each iteration creating subtle changes in the courtyard around them. "Reality isn't fixed code," she explained, "but a living program that responds to the consciousness observing it. You've been trying to read the story when you're actually the author writing it with every thought." She guided Dennis to place his hand on a blank scroll. "Close your eyes," she instructed. "Feel the infinite possibilities humming beneath your fingers. Now, instead of predicting the pattern, write it yourself." You see, dear reader, what we perceive as immutable reality is actually a dynamic system waiting to be reprogrammed by awakened consciousness. Every moment is a fresh line of code in the cosmic script, waiting for your conscious authorship. Practice and for the next 7 days become a reality programmer. 1. Each morning sit with blank paper and feel the infinite potential. 2. Write one line of code, a clear intention for reality's unfolding. 3. Practice seeing everything as mutable programming, not fixed matter. Notice how reality updates itself when you shift your core beliefs. 5. Begin with small edits before attempting larger reality rewrites. Start with simple programs before attempting complex reality hacks. Remember, in this cosmic game, you're not just a character in the story, you're the master programmer with access to the source code. Every belief is a command line, every thought a program instruction. Code consciously, dear one, for when you realize you're the game's architect, not just its player, you'll discover that reality has always been waiting for your conscious authorship of its infinite possibilities. Chapter 30. Winning by Transcending. In the hidden reaches of an ancient mountain monastery, where reality's veil grew whisper thin, there lived an extraordinary game master named Kimberly Rogers. Unlike other teachers who taught rules and strategies, Kimberly had discovered the ultimate paradox that mastering the cosmic game meant realizing there was never truly a game at all. Her sanctuary was a peculiar courtyard where visitors saw different realities simultaneously. Some witnessed fierce battles, while others saw peaceful gardens, each perception perfectly real, yet completely illusory. Most remarkable was her collection of player scrolls, mystical texts that showed each reader their own life story from outside time itself. One dawn, a victorious gladiator named Patrick Henderson arrived, having won every contest in the known world. Yet his victories felt hollow, each triumph leaving him hungrier than before. "I've mastered every game," he sighed, "but the winning brings no peace." Kimberly lifted a simple wooden cup. "Watch closely," she whispered. As Patrick observed, the cup appeared to exist and not exist simultaneously, both solid and ethereal, like a dream becoming aware of itself. "Victory," she explained, "isn't winning the game, but realizing you created the game to experience yourself. You're not the player seeking triumph. You're the cosmic consciousness that invented winning and losing for its own entertainment." To demonstrate, she guided Patrick through a hall of mirrors where he saw himself as victor and vanquished, master and student, player and game, all roles he had created for the joy of temporary forgetting and remembering. "You see, dear seeker, what we perceive as life's great game is actually consciousness exploring itself through infinite disguises. Every challenge is a gift you gave yourself. Every victory, a reminder of your true infinite nature. Practice for the next 7 days. Become a transcendent player. 1. Each morning, observe yourself playing your chosen roles. Notice how you created each game you're currently playing. 3. Practice winning and losing with equal delight. 4. See every opponent as another mask you're wearing. 5. Experience life as consciousness playing with itself. Start with small games before tackling life's grand illusions. Remember, in this cosmic play, you are not merely a character seeking victory. You are the author, actor, and audience in one eternal awareness. Play passionately, dear one, for when you realize the game was always your own magnificent creation, you'll discover that true victory lies not in winning, but in remembering you are the joyful consciousness that invented winning itself. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In the mist-shrouded peaks of the eternal mountains where reality's first dream took form, there dwelled a mysterious keeper of scrolls named Jason Turner. Unlike other guardians who preserved ancient wisdom, Jason's remarkable talent was helping seekers discover they had written the scrolls themselves in a time beyond time. His sanctuary defied comprehension, a vast circular chamber that seemed both infinite and intimate, where countless scrolls floated in spiraling patterns like stars in a cosmic dance. Most extraordinary was his meditation cushion, which appeared to rest on every level of reality simultaneously, as if occupying all possible positions at once. As you sit before him now, having journeyed through the 30 secret teachings, he unfurls a final scroll that seems to shimmer with living light. "Read," he whispers, gesturing to the ethereal text. But as you lean forward, you discover the scroll is actually a mirror, showing not your physical reflection, but your eternal consciousness gazing back at itself through countless lives and lessons. "Do you see?" Jason smiles, his eyes twinkling with ancient mischief. "You are not merely a player learning the game's rules. You are the game itself, dreaming up players and rules for the sheer delight of rediscovery." To demonstrate, he guides your attention to the chamber's walls, where scenes from your journey dance like living memories. Each teacher you encountered, each lesson you absorbed, each practice you mastered. In every reflection you recognize your own eternal awareness wearing different masks, playing different roles. For this, dear one, is the ultimate revelation. The cosmic game was never about winning or losing, mastering or failing. It was consciousness itself, your consciousness, creating an elaborate play of forgetting and remembering, losing and finding, all for the joy of experience. A final practice for the next 7 dawns and 7 dusks. 1. Sit in perfect stillness, witnessing the game of existence. 2. Observe yourself as both player and creator. 3. Notice how every experience serves your awakening. 4. Feel the delight of consciousness playing with itself. 5. Remember, you are not in the game, you are the game. Start each day with this recognition. I am awareness itself, playing at being me. Remember, now that you've discovered your true identity as the eternal observer, the real adventure begins. For when you know yourself as the author of reality's grand game, every moment becomes a fresh opportunity to create, to play, to experience the infinite delights of consciousness exploring its own magnificent possibilities. Welcome home, dear one. The game of awakening was always leading here, to the recognition that you are the very awareness in which all games arise. Play on, infinite creator. Play on. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.